All right, everyone, welcome to another edition of Young Lions, our Fighting Fanatics. It's Fighting Fanatics, basically training sessions. It's what we do to help you all out for really any topic, whether it's topics that are geared towards newer players or topics geared towards intermediate or veteran players that might help them in their path to becoming a stronger TFH player in specific. And some of these topics, especially if you're newer, might help you in other fighting games as well. TFH is pretty good at showcasing a lot of common anime fighting styles and whatnot, all in one game. All 6 characters have pretty much the really strong archetypes of rushdown, zoning, puppet characters, trap characters. They just have them all in the 6 characters. So today's topic is going to be zoning, and I just realized, unrelated to any of that, I didn't do this. So I should completely do that, and that will be good. All right, so today's topic is zoning, and specifically, I am a Velvet main, and I'm also well known for being nothing else. I'm a Velvet main, and only a Velvet main. I can play a little bit of Oleander, but as might be expected, I do tend to rely a lot on fireballs and TK fireballs, TK sparks, and whatnot. So, yeah. So for all of you out there also that are frustrated with the zoning, particularly with how Velvets do it, then this stream could be very helpful to you, because I will try to talk a little bit about the vulnerabilities of zoning, the ways in, how to deal with a specific character or a specific player's style of zoning. First off, I want to ask, we just had locals here a couple days ago, and we had adjusted all sorts of settings. How are my sound settings right now? Is the game too loud? Am I too loud? I'm usually too loud, but I guess we'll find out today. Actually, I'm usually too quiet on these, but I am going to adjust the master volume a little bit. So y'all let me know. Voice fine, game pretty low. All right, we will take care of that right away before we get any further. All right, let me know if the game is better in comparison to my voice. Should be good. Sounding good. All right. So let's see. First, I think we're going to go into some matches, and we're going to use some newer zoner players against some. Let's see who's here. I did have Jum here for a moment, and that would have been helpful for having a cow on deck. But Zinder is here as well. All right. Yeah, so instead of going straight into training, I'd like to do some matches between, if Silent Beat would like to play Velvet and Zinder will play Cow. Let's see. All right, perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to first watch some... we're going to watch some players duke it out, zoner versus non-zoner, Velvet versus Arizona. And then obviously Velvet being the pure zoner and Arizona being almost pure rushdown, but a little bit of a different style of rushdown than like Tian is. The mix-up reset heavy rushdown, whereas Tian is just like constant pressure rushdown, and Paprika is the smothering in your face. I can't get them off, and they might command grab me rushdown. So, yeah, go ahead. Let's see if we can go ahead and get them a fight. Oh, I don't think they understand what's going on. While we're trying to get these two to fight, so there's a number of topics specifically I wanted to go over, and I kind of listed them out a little bit because I wasn't sure if I'd remember them all. I did talk a little bit about patterns. Talked about, or I haven't mentioned yet that we're going to be talking about how to zone safely. That's very important. And then even just the really basic stuff like how many projectiles can I have on screen at once? How do I use all my zoning tools, not just projectiles, sometimes stationary zoning tools, sometimes zoning tools in Velvet's case that aren't exactly very obvious. You see them and you're like, oh, cool, I'll never use this, like wind, right? It's like, I don't want wind. I want, a snowball or a DP. But truth be told, wind is extremely good. So there are other characters in other games that have things like wind. Rachel Alucard and BlazBlue is notable for that. I don't know if she can use it. She can actually use it even better than Velvet in some ways because she can move her projectiles with the wind further, or like they can go further or they can stay closer. Velvet can't do that with snowballs, but imagine if she could. I think it might actually be problematic if she could do it with snowballs, and I bet they considered it. Yeah, she can propel herself with wind. Can she? So she cannot actually move the opponent then, right? It's a little bit different. She propels herself and her projectiles. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, so Velvet's difference is that she can move her opponents, which is fantastic for conversions, but really good for keeping them at bay. So first we're going to see Silent Beat. I've seen them play a little bit. They do have some good zoning habits right off the bat, but as you noticed right there, they actually had a good safe usage of projectile and interruption, of an icicle and interruption, but they didn't continue the pressure, and they got the combo as the opponent came in, but they allowed the opponent in without like having too much of a plan. So right now they're still dealing with Zinder's Pap in close pretty well. Zinder, I'm pretty sure Zinder is a cow main, so they might just be trying out Pap right now. Yeah, so right now they actually are showcasing good basic zoning. Put out one projectile, see what the opponent does. Right there, they use the Icicle C, which went completely over the head of the opponent, but it can showcase one of the things about zoning. Sometimes it's not about even putting your projectile on their block. It's about denying a path, and for it making them only have one path in, which means that you can control what they do a little bit better. Okay, so that time they used, the double icicle. They did it from a full jump, which made it a little bit unsafer. And we're going to go into safe summoning of icicles with Velvet. Yeah, right now, Zinder doesn't exactly know the optimal punishes with Paprika. So some of that is like getting in with your... See, that was good. That was a nice jump in, JC. JC's a nice long move that you can just jump in, do it at around peak jump height. And if the opponent's a zoner and they're just summoning things, they'll probably get hit. They're summoning recklessly. Not if they're putting out the giant ice wall like that. You gotta really get in there in time to stop a Shatter C. But if you just come in with an empty jump and block it, then you usually get a good opportunity for pressure. I wonder if this is a good connection between these two. It's kind of stuttering a little. Yes, Ablaze, safe summoning. That is one of the biggest goals. See, there you go. That kind of illustrates what I was just talking about. The Shatter C was performed a little bit too close to the opponent, and they got stuffed right out of the startup of the move. Yeah, it's definitely stuttering some. I'm gonna have to ask them about their connection after the match. Oh man, who won? Oof, the whiffed command grab. Not a huge punish from Silent Beat there. And by the way, speaking of punishing, our previous session was on blocking and punishing. A lot of that is just knowing your just how safe or unsafe the opponent's moves is, and just how big a button you can use to punish it. So you can check that out in our VODs. I don't think we have that uploading just yet. Maybe we do. All right, so 5D is kind of an interesting tool for Velvet. It's honestly, it's more of a poke than like a really long poke, like a good button you can just throw out there and either stuff the opponent's approach in neutral or punish them from long range and possibly convert with an eruption or something. 5D, it's easy to throw out there and think, oh, my opponent has to deal with this, and I'll throw out another one and another one because it's really fast. But you're not going to get a huge amount of damage if and you're going to waste all your zoning tools if you throw out a whole bunch of 5Ds kind of carelessly. So a good freeze and just continued pressure, Zinder not blocking, and Silent Beat takes the round. Yeah, that's a good, a little bit of a Shatter Sea philosophy from Ablaze on how to do that. Hold on real quick. Let me see if I can... All right, let's see. I think we'll do one more, and then we'll go into actual training on how to zone. Pour. They're all red except you and Blaze. How poor? Oh yeah, that might be really good if we have these two. If they're both in, because Silent Beat is believe is in Germany. All right, we'll do that one. Perfect. All right, so we'll do this, and then we will go into... I'll go into training with... I'll go into training with one of them. Maybe Hacked, I think. Hacked or Beat. Yeah. If you don't meond. Ah! Wow. Wow. I don't know if... Let's see, hold on. Hey, if you two can hear me, can you back out? Can you back out? Oh man. The game's not recognizing my my mic properly. It looked like it, but then it didn't. Yeah, I pressed the back button at the worst possible time. All right, you know what we'll do? We'll do let's see if we can do Hacked versus in there. You know what? Let's just... Yeah, Hacked, come on over here. Let's see if we can have Hacked versus Nameless. Awesome. Perfect. I'm not going to hit any more buttons after saying spectate. Yeah, sorry, Silent Beat. I accidentally unspectated right before you guys went into the fight. It was my bad. We can give you guys another chance after this one. But then after that, I'm going to go into the training mode and start highlighting Velvet's zoning tools. And if we have any Oleanders out there watching, any hopeful Oleanders or any strong ones, then we could definitely get you in as well. We could talk about her style, which is a little bit more trap based. So right now, one of the hallmarks of being a good zoner is having good defense, and there's some good defense from Hacked right now off of Nameless's initial approach. She's kind of showcasing how Shatter C is really good on a landing opponent, because one of the conventions of defense as you advance is to guard low as soon as you're landing against most opponents. So overhead on landing in most any game like this is really strong. And it's probably really the best time to actually hit with Shatter C, outside of them trying to duck your icicles. Alright, so Hacked also showcasing one of the properties of Shatter A in that it can cancel into other snowballs. It didn't do it that time. But Shatter A canceling into snowballs is a really great way of making one of your more aggressive tools safe, and also for setting up some zoning, some defensive zoning, or, you know, offensive zoning if you actually hit with it. Like if you send out a Shatter A and you 3D after it hits into a hard knockdown, it's sort of an offensive zoning, sort of forcing them to move in or get locked down by the 3D and, you know, have to deal with more projectiles. And if it's 2D right there, 2D is a very nice defensive zoning tool. It can be used offensively for sure, but 2D's kind of shines more as a defensive zoning tool. Very nice throw. Might have been a preemptive push block. This game does have that kind of option select in there. There you go. Right there, showcasing Shatter A. 5D, making it safe. Okay, right there. That 3D, given that the opponent was kind of getting... I don't know if they were getting hit by stuff. The 3D just kind of looked like it was wasted, but... 3D is actually a really good tool against... there you go. There's a good one. Perfect 3D. Shatter... I think it's almost as if they're doing it as I'm talking about it. Shatter A into the hard knockdown, actually hitting with it, canceling into 3D. And if Shatter A didn't hit and they canceled into 3D, that's okay. It might not be as useful zoning as Shatter A on block into 2D, but... Alright. Alright, we're going to try you two again. So that was a good example of Velvet play from Hacked. And like I said, we're also going to talk about the ways in on a lot of these tools. So for Nameless and Zinder, that could help them deal with... Yeah, let's try one more time between you two. All right, I think what I was trying to do was... what I just did was hit back on the voice chat. So I think that I could have just hit R1, which is set to disable or enable voice chat. Oh, right, it was Jum Jum. My bad. I guess they're gone. Well, if that's the case, and it is indeed, we're going to go ahead and move into me being in training. And I will go into training with... Right now, I'll go into training with Hacked. And then I will come out and probably go into training with Beat as well. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, so, like, that's another reason why it could be good, because they play Tien. All right, so one of the first things we're going to talk about is, let's see, I have hitboxes on. What are my settings first? Infinite magic. No, I won't have infinite anything. All right, that's good. So one of the things I wrote down was, how many projectiles can I have on screen at once? For Velvet, the answer is quite a lot, but when it comes to icicles in specific, which are the bread and butter of how her zoning is developed, the answer is 2. Wow. Those are some fantastic TK icicles. So the answer is 2, and the safest way to get 2 icicles out on screen is to use what's called a TK icicle. So you've probably seen this talked about in a couple of other videos on how to play Velvet. Blaze recently did a Velvet video, a couple of Velvet videos. I was in one of them, and we talked a little bit about TK icicles. But to further hammer home the point of how a TK icicle works, it's basically the motion is 2, 3, 6, 9, and what it does for you is if you do 2, 3, 6, 9 and you basically hit the button to summon the icicle as soon as you hit 9, it allows you to place an air icicle like really early instead of jumping up there and placing the icicle and then coming down. You kind of have all this extra recovery time if you do it higher up, or if you do kind of what Silent Beat was doing, where you jump and then do it towards the end of your arc. What that ends up doing is you're forcing yourself into a jump arc where you weren't planning on doing anything but an icicle, and then you're doing the extra icicle, and all that time that you're that you are jumping forward, the Tian could be advancing on you. Like, go ahead and like hack. You're gonna be delayed if you're not in chat with me, so you can hear me, I'm assuming, since you're paying attention to stream. But if you would not mind, I'd love it if you could be in the Discord chat, the Fight Fanatics Discord. Yeah, perfect. I will pull you in. Just pop into general and I'll pull you in. Or TFH, that works too. Hello.
Hey there.
I think it's like is this the first time we've talked? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
We were Soul's friend, man.
What's up? Oh, that we did have a long conversation recently, or maybe a couple months ago. All right.
Briefly.
All right. So, go ahead and like kind of jump at me and then like air dash at me while I just. Oh wow! See, like just like right there, I wanted to do 2 icicles, but he was already in my face. Go ahead and go full screen again. So like. Yeah, what I want you to do right now is I basically want you to try, as soon as I kind of start jumping at you and I'm not doing anything, try to advance as Tien. So.
Okay, got it.
Like, yeah, see all that time, if I want to do an icicle or if I want to jump back and do an icicle, like it's a lot of time spent in the air. And like I may only be able to get 1 out. All right, that's good. So the idea of getting that TK icicle is just it's quicker. It gets one of your tools out quicker, and then you can move around on the ground and maybe some of the next one for either you can have like continuous pressure, or you can have more of an assault all at once. And if depending on which icicle you use, which will go into how do I use all my zoning tools and what are the different properties, you can cover different paths. See, in that case, he's jumping up, right? But he's having to deal with this TK Icicle C. Now, take a look at this one in particular. Icicle C, air Icicle C. So if you look at that hitbox, right? One, as you can see, it's kind of big on the tip of the icicle. And it's not really shaped around the icicle itself. This is one of those things that we've been talking about a little bit for balance. But, oh yeah, what does TK mean? Thanks, Blaze. It means tiger knee. And this stream isn't all about TKs, but all that means is it's just a reference to the 2, 3, 6, 9 motion. which was well known for being Sagat's command input for his Tiger Knee. Yep, from the old Street Fighter 2. So in later games, it's sometimes not that. Like I think in Alpha 3, it both was and wasn't that, depending on which ism you like, Xism or Aism. It's kind of crazy. I think Xism makes it the 2369, and in like Aism or Vism, whichever one he has it in, it's a 623 motion. So it's kind of a difficult input in some senses, because the 9 is, you leaving the ground. Like, so if you don't press the button on your pre-jump frames, because every character does have pre-jump frames. So those pre-jump frames are kind of where you're trying to press that button and have your icicle be done at a really low height. All right, so we talked about there can only be 2 icicles on screen at once. Well, sometimes what you want to do with that knowledge is you want to not summon that second icicle until the other icicle is a lot closer to the opponent. So if I say summon icicle B on the ground, right? Like if I summon my next icicle as they're about to deal with it, that wasn't a good example, but so that's a little bit getting into safe summoning of how to deal with, or how to create more icicles, more projectiles while the opponent is currently dealing with the other one. And that's where you start getting into the storm of, God, I have to keep blocking all the time. Well, that's what you want as the zoner. That's what you want, is for them to be blocking more often than not and taking chip damage, which is the lockdown portion of zoning. So let's talk about her different tools real quick. We'll talk about icicle A, B, and C, and then air icicle A, B, and C. So icicle A, very quick icicle. It's designed to be very offensive, but it also has some defensive, not tendencies, but defensive uses as well. So if the opponent is coming in, like if they try to jump at you or whatever, the first thing you do might be to summon an icicle A and then block, right? So if they try to like air dash in at you, let's see. This is going to be hard to set up exactly. All right, see now we're in a position where he's kind of at advantage. Hey, what's up, Rich? I see Rich is in chat now. Yeah, where I'm trying to react to his air dash, and he's trying to react to whether or not I'm summoning icicle. So it's sort of hard to set the situation up right there and then. But yeah.
Sorry, what's the goal here?
The goal?
Do you want me just jumping in? Like what are we trying to demonstrate?
I think I wanted to demonstrate an IAD approach and how the Velvet can, like you can IAD with like JB. And how the Velvet can like put up the icicle and then go. Actually, JC might be better because it's a little slower. So if let's see. All right, on 3, so it'll be on 3, 2, 1, and then try to IAD in with the JC. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Good. So 3, 2, 1. All right, that didn't quite work out the way I was hoping, but at least I blocked it. What I'm trying to illustrate here, and it's a little bit difficult to illustrate on command, is if you time your projectile summoning right, the opponent will come in, you'll be able to block, right? The icicle A, you'll be able to block, and they will attack your blocking, and they will get hit by the icicle as a counter hit, and you'll be able to pick it up from there.
Oh, I think that's better illustrated with jumping icicle A or 2D.
Jumping, like what, that?
Yeah, so like if they go in and you're blocking that, then they have to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is actually really better illustrated with that, because jumping icicle A, air icicle A is a shield icicle. It is perhaps. It's more defensive, but also has offensive properties, whereas icicle A on the ground is more offensive, but also has defensive properties. But yeah, this is definitely more of the defensive icicle, and the higher up you do it, the wider of a path it has. So,
Yeah.
so like, let's see.
Because I feel like summoning ground icicles within IAD range pretty risky.
Yeah, it can be. Oh yeah, definitely. So like within perfect IED range, yeah, like you have if you're already jumping at me, yeah, and if you had air dashed right there, so like yeah, go ahead and yeah, counter hit right there. Yeah, it's definitely a bit risky if you're like right here. Terrible idea to summon an icicle against the opponent. Knowing when to summon icicles is very matchup specific. It can, like, there are some non-matchup specific elements, like just go ahead and block. That's a perfect time to summon another icicle, is while the opponent is blocking, like I said a moment ago. And again, if you summon the air one and then move around, you can summon that ground one at any time. And then, now, like, depending on which ground one you summon, you can either have that quick sustained pressure or a little bit more delayed pressure, delayed sustained. All right, let's see. So how do I lock my opponent down with my tools? All right, so we haven't really gone into all the tools. So let's just do a quick primer on them all. So I already said Icicle A, very fast, mostly aggressive, can be used defensively. Icicle A in the air, slower. It has all the air ones have the same timing, and it's in between Icicle B and C. So it's slower, but you can kind of use it as a shield, right? You can, if the opponent is coming in. However, it can also be used very well as like as a offensive tool in the corner. You can even get a situation where you have really good Oki off of 3C, but you need high juggle decay off of that. So, Icicle B on the ground. Icicle B, both Icicle B and Air Icicle B are kind of your most multi-purpose icicles. What they do for you is that they basically provide pressure that will be there on the opponent quickly, but it's not immediate. So if they jump, if they're like somebody who's not Tian, that Tian can just fly over everything. But if there's someone who's like they're like an Arizona or a Pap, then if they try to jump thinking it's this icicle that they can jump over really easily, they might have to deal with that one unless they like super jump. So they might still be having to deal with that one as they land. Icicle C. Icicle C is like your best buddy on advance. So if you're full screen, you can come in with it. They won't know which one it is until it's too late, and they just have to deal with it by guarding, or they just get around you as you're advancing. And then we talked about Air Icicle A. Air Icicle B. Air Icicle B is almost even more multi-purpose than Icicle B on the ground, because Air Icicle B is a lot harder to just like duck under. Yeah. There we go. No. Actually, Air Icicle B can be more easily ducked under, but Icicle B, don't even duck. Don't even duck. Let's see. That will hit. But I was looking at the hitbox differences, trying to see like jumping over it. It's a little bit easier to provide pressure with that one. That they can't jump over, whereas this one is is easier to jump over in some senses.
Yeah.
And
then you've got Icicle C because it's just a horizontal approach that stuff's
yeah, Air Icicle C
doing stuff in the air.
Air Icicle C
their reads or trying to jump out of pressure.
Yes, excellent. Yeah, so Air Icicle C is great in this matchup because of the opponent being so so airbound all the time. And also, like he said, Oleander trying to read. The Oleander isn't going to read against you on the ground because of the threat of eruption. Because you can basically pop her for reading on the ground from almost anywhere. But that means that she's likely to try to read in the air. And it's kind of hard if she's really high up there. Go ahead and get up there. Like, Tian can kind of get out of the range of this altogether. Let's see. Now get up there. Yeah. So Tian can avoid it altogether, but Oleander, even at a high double jump, struggles to avoid like a peak height Icicle C. Now, if you put that up there really high, CTN can get around it. If you put that up there really high, Air Icicle C, it does make it harder for them to have like a super jump approach. But you've allowed them all this space, like all this space that's they instant air dash space, everything in front of you and at your head height. So this is like, you really have to know that the opponent is already going to be up there. Otherwise, it's kind of useless. Which is why this is so good. TK, like right there, it almost hit him. TK Air Icicle C is just fantastic. It could be considered a warning shot. What are the dead zones for zoning? Yeah, well, we just talked a little bit about a dead zone that you can create yourself, where there's all that free advance path. But for Velvet, her usual dead zones are behind her mostly. Like, so she can put. Well, that'll start talking about snowballs in a bit. So let's go ahead and talk about her snowballs. So 2D.
Real quick, actually, just to close out on icicles, I'd say one of the big things that I try to communicate to newer Velvets is in choosing your ground icicle. A lot of people tend to just default to icicle A, even on like when they're in an Oki situation where like tech rolls and such are going to go right through that.
Awesome. I'm glad you said tech rolls. Yeah.
Try to incorporate the delayed ones as well. And they do more damage if hit. So
this is something that I got taught by Sirius a long time ago, and it's what Hacked just touched on was Icicle Oki, which is Icicle Okizemi. Okizemi is a phrase talking about the opponent's wake up and how you deal with it. And which icicle you use is very dependent on what the opponent is doing on wake up or what wake up state you put them in. So like, if I put him into a hard knockdown state, the best icicle that I could possibly put out right there, following if I do that, Shatter B right there, is Icicle A, because it gets to their knockdown state quicker. Right? Whoops, messed up the timing there. So he could have jumped out of that for sure. He could have gotten up in the air, 7D'd or whatever. So we'll try to illustrate that right now. Yeah, so he definitely could have jumped there, and then I would have lost some ground. But it's still, the other icicles would not have gotten there at all. So if for some reason he decided he wanted to stay put, then he would have been dealing with the Icicle A. Now, if I were to put him into a soft knockdown state, it's kind of hard to, let's see. There we go. Much better example. So you put them into a soft knockdown state. That means that they have a good chance of delaying their tech roll or whatever. And you might want to be using Icicle B as further lockdown. And Icicle B is really great for dealing with that soft knockdown tech situation. They can delay it so much that they still just avoid the Icicle B before they even get up entirely. So sometimes that means you want to use Icicle C, or if you alter the timing with a TK Icicle, because the TK Icicle timing is like right in between B and C. It's a little bit longer than grounded B, but a little bit shorter than C, grounded C. So, and that's any air icicle. They all share, or all air icicles share the same timing. They just have different directions. So let's see. Safe ways to use tools. How do I plan for my opponent's pass in? I need to talk about the other tools, but yeah, go ahead. Is that what you were going to suggest? Talking about the other tools? Okay. All right. So let's talk about the other tools that Velvet has at her disposal. So if you were to just use icicles, your game plan would be a little. Your game plan, like we could start talking about eruptions too. Icicles and eruptions are gonna not be everything a Velvet needs to maximize their zone. So they have to start using their magic, which can be a 5D, which is that very straight and very fast snowball. It can be a 3D, which is great as an anti-TN tool. Go ahead and super jump and fly, like super jump forward and fly. There you go. That is what I want to illustrate. That is really good in this matchup specifically. It really deals with that space that he's inhabiting up there, 3D. Because 3D is one of those tools that you don't see Velvets immediately learn to use. 3D and 2D are tools that take some time to learn. And this matchup is where you can really start learning how do I use 3D properly. Now, if you were to just instant air dash at me, that's not going to do very much for you. They're not in that dangerous space. Like if they keep doing it, well, yeah, yeah, do it with like a there you go. Oh, I ran out of magic. I forgot. Maybe I should have infinite magic on, but I want.
It illustrates point that it's not good for challenging horizontal.
Yes.
Approach.
Yeah, purely horizontal approaches that you'll get stuffed on your attempt to challenge in a zone. So it has to be. I talk sometimes about linear Tian pressure, and that instant air dash is definitely that linear feel. But sometimes that's what you want because it's quick. It's there quickly, and it gets around those delayed zoning options. Whereas if you go up there and you're trying to mix her up and maybe cross her up, I can't fly. I wish I could. Velvet can't fly. Yeah, if you're trying to get over there, cross her up, you're more at risk to options like that. Or options like that. 2D. 2D has some great matchup specific uses. Tian is one of them, but I don't think Tians really like to fly directly above a Velvet because of the potential of this. Otherwise, flying directly above an opponent is actually pretty strong for Tian. Yeah. But because most opponents can't do anything about that. But Velvet has a couple of tools. She has the JB, and then she has this, which is her ultimate tool for dealing with that kind of thing. And this is also really good for dealing with Pap Telesea. You could be sitting there zoning, and every now and then, if you have a lot of magic to spare, but you'll want to throw one of those out because the Pap is just thinking, God, how do I get in?
It's always right after super. Like, you've got them on the opposite side of the screen, and like they don't want to be there, so they try to teleport on top of you.
Mm-hmm. 2D, Sirius says, 2D isn't a complicated move, and general use of it, besides matchup specifics, is something people should be looking into. There are a couple of, I guess perhaps I may have, did I say it was complicated? I think maybe I might have. Well, I'm not trying to say it's super complicated, but there are a lot of interesting properties about how 2D works. One of the most interesting is where it summons from, no matter where you are. So if you'll notice that that move summons right by Velvet's back when she's standing, but when she's jumping, it's kind of summons from under her. So there are a lot of situations where you could be up high in the air, and if you do a tech high in the air, you can summon a 2D from way underneath you, and that's sort of a defensive measure. It helps Velvet fortify her preferred range against Oleander, giving her some breathing room. Oh, are we talking about 2D defensive usage? Yes. So talking about 2D as a defensive tool, as a defensive zoning tool, then let's see. So what that kind of does, like as the opponent comes back in, it does allow you to have that longer this path, not this path, this area in front of Velvet, but like right here, like we're about right where we want to be. This area in front of Velvet, it can be like really hard covered with the power of 2D, especially if you like kind of do two of them. Yeah. So 2D is that defensive zoning tool. And the greatest thing about it is the recovery time of all your snowballs is really low. So you can put it out there. It's really non-committal, and that's one of the things people hate the most about this character, about Velvet, is a lot of her options are non-committal. Offensively, 2D is pretty good for Oki and just making yourself somewhat safe when being aggressive. Yeah, Shatter A 2D is a great way to be safe and then switch to defense following offense. And then, like, if you actually hacked was already... I was saying, if I don't know if you heard me, I was saying that... In fact, I'm pretty sure you did hear me when I saw you doing that. I was like, yeah, I think he specifically was showcasing this, how useful that could be.
Yeah, I was trying to get some options.
Yeah. Let's see. We didn't talk about 1D. 1D is one of those tools that deals with jump backs. Jump backs or jump like jump forwards. Like it's as soon as they're gonna jump, like super jump. When they just want to jump, they're full screen and all they want to do is jump at you and you know it. Then sometimes 1D or even two of them if you have the magic to spare. Yeah, it's really good against Oleander and Tien. And I would say it is better against Oleander than Tien because of the potential to catch reads. Like Tien has a lot of ways to not get hit by 1D, but at the same time, like when the only thing she wants to do is like super jump in or air dash in or whatever from full screen, then she's a little bit more susceptible to it. I think actually if you just instant air dash from full screen, like go a bit more full screen. So yeah, like it's like you would have to catch them as soon as they jumped. But if you just super jump in, whoops. If they just super jump in and they haven't picked an option yet, then they'll either have to block it or they'll just get hit by it because they're still thinking, oh, I want to fly right now. Yeah, if they want to fly up there, then that can be really dangerous for them. Tien has a narrow range against evading 1D, I feel. She has to risk and fit. Yeah, she has a narrow margin against evading 1D. I kind of agree with that. Risk because the 1D comes to Velvet, and if she pushes... Right. So there's this... If she evades it the first time, then she kind of has to still... Yeah, like, unless she's, like, already in before the 1D continues getting there. Because now the 1D starts to be near Velvet. 1D is interesting in that it too can be a kind of defensive tool on the back end. And that's great against Paps when they can teleport, you know. 1D, in fact, is something you want to use during your zoning against Paps because of that potential for it to be behind you if the Pap Telebee's behind you. It's really good.
You also get it in like characters like Arizona that are just like going to be running on you. Like, it's not something that I think you would want to like primarily use it for. It's more of a situational. Like I called 1D, they didn't jump, they just ran, but they still have to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, but the one thing that can be scary about that is, yes, they'll have to deal with it, but they could also just like come in, like running in and then just, you know, kind of get out of range by jumping over you and crossing you up with a JC. Arizona is one of those characters that's really hard to maximize 1D on.
Yeah.
Practice safe resource management, please. So resource management, a little bit of that is when you have this full bar of magic, using the right resources for the right job. Don't blow all your magic all at once, don't blow all your magic on 5D, that kind of thing, because your zoning becomes a lot weaker when you don't have a lot of tools to use it on. Let me think. We haven't talked about wind. We haven't talked about eruptions either, but I definitely want to talk about wind. Wind is resource based. Wind requires. All right, so right now I cannot wind. I'm trying to wind. Now I can. Wind requires 1 stock of magic to use, but it only takes a half stock. So you have to have a minimum of one stock to use it, but it you can see that generation pops back up. Go ahead and like try to super jump forward and air dash at me. So using wind at the right time on Tian can just completely destroy her approach. She can still fly at that point because he hadn't flied. Whoops, and I gotta get more magic. Let me go ahead and just make it easier on myself. I really shouldn't have turned this off. So now that she's flying, she doesn't have the air dash anymore, but she does have the ability to just be in there. Yeah, see, now I didn't really stall the approach too much. What it really can help you do is avoid the potential of the cross up. So now see, that's a bad situation. There I have to be ready to try a 2D or a 3D, or else the Tian is going to get some really nasty pressure on me. So oh, oof, that would have been a cross. If they had used like a JC there, I would have got crossed up, probably got hit. Wind, just a quick usage of it when the opponent is in the air or just as they're about to jump, it can really, depending on the opponent, it can really like completely stall out their advance. It's difficult to learn to use properly on Tian, but it's really effective when you know how to use it on Tian. However, wind can also be used to make finishers. Yeah, that's actually complicated. We're definitely not going to go into that. That's combo stuff. Yeah, there are some offensive uses to wind, but that's dangerous because you really have to be pulling them into zoning that they're not currently, like projectiles they're not currently in range of. That flight scenario is also where you just hit JB to reliably hit where no other character can. Yeah, Velvet is the only one that has this kind of tool to really get up there. It's hard to convert. I think 3D would have worked there. Let's see. Yeah, it's kind of hard to convert, especially like if you really super jump up there. Because you even getting that last hit, bit of hit stun. Yeah, you see she can't even reach, in the end. Yeah, JB's definitely, it's a tough tool to use, but you really have to get that last hit to really stop them. So if you plan on following under, wind should be used to cancel out movement and make certain matchups easier. Yeah, so wind is great against Arizona. It's the first matchup you should consider learning to use wind as your offensive zoning tool. Like offensive and defense. It's just sort of like both, because you can. It's not even really either. It's just pure zoning. Like as they're dealing with all this stuff, they want to jump. Like and you could try to call out that jump with the 1D, but the power of a half stock of magic being used, that is resource management. You're doing the same thing that a 1D can do. You're not doing chip, but you're basically locking them down if they jump and guard, right? And they just fall right back to the grounds. With Tian, it's harder because the Tian has extra resources. She has flips, she has flight, she has air dashes, she can super jump. There are so many things that she could do where one single wind isn't gonna really cut it. A Tian might use her resources to deal with all this. There you go. See right there, he flipped, and I think you had already. Did you already air dash there?
Yeah.
So you had air dashed, And then you flipped, and on the flip I used wind. You didn't go anywhere. You did have flight still, I think, right? You still had your flight?
Yes.
Okay. So you could have canceled into flight and tried to pressure more from there, but flight's risky because you can't block, and you have to cancel out of flight to block. So that's 6D, by the way. That is forward D. Back D is wind pull. Wind pull, using it for your zoning is... I have yet to really incorporate it myself. I know that there are ways to do it. You can pull them into your existing projectiles if they're too far away. There might be some cross-up situations you can generate, but the problem with using it that way is the potential for putting yourself in worse situations. And yeah, to beat out wind, you can just walk, right? You can just walk and negate it entirely. Well, not entirely. He got pushed a little bit, but... And if you dash, it also negates it. So those are your ways of dealing with wind. Let's see. I've talked about a couple of different things for Velvet, but let's talk a little bit about some anti-Velvet stuff. So one of the things to know about how to deal with Velvet is getting a feel for what projectiles the opponent, or what icicles in particular, the opponent likes to summon, right? And knowing, all right, is this going to be an icicle A in this situation? Yes. If so, jump and get it, go in, because they don't have time as a Tian. If they're fighting you and you're a Tian, they don't have time to do anything else after you've evaded that. They need to guard right there. The only thing they can do is they know you jump, right? Or they can, I guess it's not the only thing. They have two different options, but this is a bit riskier because of the aerial approach. So, and that actually talks, that goes into a little bit about how you can use your zoning and them knowing your zoning to know exactly what they're going to do. Make them, like, generate paths for them to take, and then counter. Oh man, our combo breaker fund is over. I gotta get rid of that. Just for anyone out there, our combo breaker fund is over. We haven't removed the move bot yet. Rich, if you could possibly do that, that would be great. But if not, don't worry about it. I'll do it later. I'll have to remember to do it afterwards. 6A can be beaten. Use DDP. If both are beaten, just block and punish accordingly. Yeah. There are a couple different options you can use to be defensive as Velvet, 6A and Magic DP. But going back to the opponent, how do you get in there? So as Tian's got a pretty good shot at dealing with Velvet if Velvet doesn't have magic. So if now I do. This is why I wanted to turn it off. All right. So now that Velvet doesn't have any magic, like she, like the Tian can kind of just, they don't have to worry about this. They don't have to worry about, they can start flying more. Like they can get right now he's just kind of approaching me from the ground, but Hacked, go ahead and like super jump and stuff. Well, yeah, I'm trying to get rid of it. Okay, there you go. Like it's hard for you to hit them with any icicles if they're really high up in the air. Yeah, see right there, look at that. Like what are you supposed to do? You have to start thinking of those magic options. You'll get them relatively quick, but if you have none, by the time you're thinking about it, it might be too late. And also, let's talk a little bit about. Here's another good thing that's important for you to know as a person fighting Velvet. All right, go ahead and start hitting me. Watch my magic bar right now. While I'm under pressure, my magic regen has slowed significantly. All right, now stop. Now, it may not be easy to notice, but there is definitely a slowing of regen under pressure. That's really important to know as the opponent, so you can watch as you're comboing them to see what resources they'll have when you're done. All right, let me go to 0. Okay, now hit me and start comboing me. Now this is important because in this situation I can't DP. And if they know that, right? That's not quite so much an anti-zoning as it is anti-velvet knowledge. But knowing what your opponent's resources are really does help. So talking about anti-zoning, right? Now he doesn't have to worry about 1D. Like he can just do that, right? He can instant air dash at me. Now I've got it. John like pressed it multiple times there. So now I don't have it. I don't have my 1D available. So it's scary, right? Because I have to rely on the icicles. He can evade them. So if the opponent, if you're cognizant of resources, you can mentally check off the opponent's options to cover space as the Velvet main. The same thing with Oleander. You talk about playing as or fighting against Oleander. You need to be cognizant of that magic, and her magic doesn't auto generate. She has to get it. But when she has that stock, she could just sit on it for a while. Oh, excuse me. And you don't want to forget about it. You want to be cognizant all the time that she has it, so that if she chooses to use it in a aggressive advanced way, you're ready to deal with it. And if she chooses to start using it if she starts using it for traps or for like magic sparks and stuff, you're going to see that coming, and you're just going to have to block or get around it. Traps are a different style of zoning. Velvet, the only traps Velvet really has are like the really delayed projectiles. Like that's sort of a trap as you advance. Whereas Oleander has actual space consuming like projectiles, like her traps and her epilogue that can just be in a spot, and they can be a threat. Hi, Flamerick. It's been a while since I've seen you. Hope you're getting some knowledge as a TN player. Hacked, since you play both Velvet and TN, what kind of questions do you have? Because you already have a lot of this stuff in your brain. It's just getting better and better over time with execution. So what kind of questions do you have? Because I have not really asked you much.
I don't have any immediate questions. You didn't talk about eruptions. I don't know if you had anything specific to mention.
Eruptions are an extension of your zoning more than anything else. They're an extension of the zoning that are provided by icicles and snowballs. And the problem with eruptions is that eruptions put Velvet, they put her +2. We talk about frame advantage. They put her at +2 frame advantage, but they kind of make her pressure end. She can't move very easily after an eruption. Like, you're just kind of stuck there for a moment. So, like, if the opponent guards it, go ahead and just guard it, yeah. Like, you've got that +2 to start acting on them, but that's not a lot of frame advantage before they can start acting themselves. So let's go ahead. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do frame advantage here. So it's a little bit easier. Yeah, that was a good example. It's a little bit easier to do more things before they can if you hit them with projectiles where you have more frame advantage. Like, obviously with an icicle, if you're hitting their block with an icicle, you can just really be in there because you're completely disconnected from the icicle. But the eruption is like almost connected to Velvet in a way. It's good for conversions. It's really good for those. Because that's like her primary tool to start hitting to open up the opponent from far away. Yeah, it's good for catching people on text, using it on Oki. It's not bad there. It's good in combos, you have to threaten with eruption because it's your only low as Velvet. Like, well, Shatter A, DP. It's your primary low. These are technically Velvet's primary low because you're going to use them in block strings, right? If you're being careful. You'll use them in fake block strings, and you won't use them all the time because people will know their ways around it. But yeah, talking about eruptions is difficult because it is important to use them. It's important to use them more so as a check. Like right there, that's a good example. So you could have jumped. So like, let's go ahead and block this, and now you jump. All right, that's usually what's going to happen, right? I have a couple different things I could do to deal with that jump, but the thing that a Velvet is going to want to do, the thing that a Velvet is usually going to want to do is do an eruption. And you have to time it such that you don't miss that. Because what's happening right there, you're trying to jump, right? You're trying to jump and block.
Yeah.
Yeah, so right there, I'm kind of... You go ahead and try to jump back when I do that. I'm going to try to catch those pre-jump frames. Whoops, that didn't get you at all. There, I thought I got you that time. There we go. So he is trying to jump and then guard while jumping, like jump back. But what the eruption is doing there is catching the pre-jump frames. We talked a little bit about that earlier, but lows can catch pre-jump frames even if the opponent is guarding. They're basically not guarding low at the time of that when that's happening. Velvet's really bad about doing that during her combos or during her block strings because her fastest low is 19 frames, which is this or this, and this is 24 frames. So opponents tend to be able to either just guard it or interrupt it, or get in on it entirely if you whiff it against an opponent with the ability to be in the air. So like, go ahead and go about right here, and I'm gonna whiff this. Yeah, he could have hit me. He totally could have hit me right there. So it's one of those tools that makes Velvet really vulnerable. But it is a good extension of your zoning because it provides a threat to them jumping. So it's basically something that can discourage jumping following an icicle block stun. And that's the way that eruption works for you there. Eruption is less of a powerful zoning tool than the icicles and the snowballs are, because those can be more disconnected from you and what you're doing. But once they start trying to, if they start trying to advance in, right? Like go ahead and dash in, like just dash on the ground in. So you see that Tian has a really good dash hurtbox profile. She can kind of dash under some of these projectiles. Let's do just this one. Whoops. Icicle. I'm going to be summoning Icicle B. Ah! Perfect. So she can get under that stuff, but if you start mixing in your eruptions, she does have to at least deal with that on the ground. So it's good for dealing with grounded advances that might be getting past your icicles. But that's kind of situation and character specific on how you would use it in that sense as a zoning tool. All right, I have been talking for quite a bit. I opened the floor to Hacked, but Hacked, you said you didn't really have questions.
Not really from the perspective of like, how do you deal with zoning, that I haven't been dealing with it.
Okay. Do you have any questions that you've been answering for yourselves that might be like, or for yourself that might be as a TN player that I might not be asking or proposing and then answering? Like not that you don't know the answer already, but like what kind of question might come up as a TN player? Oh, go ahead.
Something that a lot of Paprika, Kianwo, and Arizona players don't make use of against zoners is the super jump. It's a very
Yeah.
strong tool that they have access to.
I have
Um,
I have seen Tian so often where, you know, like when they first start playing, even when they get good with the character, like they're really good at combos and stuff. They're starting to get good with the character, right? And yet their pressure is so very linear. Like they just coming in with instant air dashes, right?
yeah.
They're not using the super jump. They're not getting their, you know, the full range of possible approach angles, and not evading the zoning. And with a pap can't do, you know, flight or imagine flying pap. They can't do flight or instant air dashes or anything like that, or air dashes or anything. But they can at least evade a lot of grounded zoning for a bit, and they can get in. So pap with wings. So one of the things I was going to say is as a non-zoner, what you need to know is what tools do I have that can counter zoning, not just evade it, but kind of evade and attack at the same time. Tian has one interesting tool that is definitely difficult to use because if you just use it recklessly, you'll get hit. That's her grounded volcanic bash. So grounded volcanic bash has the ability to let's see if you can do. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Since it's, you know, the timing for Icicle B. It has projectile invulnerability, and it can get through almost all of Velvet's pressure because practically everything Velvet does as a special move is a projectile. This is one of the only examples where it's not. Let's see if you can time this one. I'm going to do a Shatter C. So in 3...
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Boom, perfect. So Shatter C is a projectile. I'm gonna do Shatter A. I'll same deal. It's slower, or it's faster. So 3, 2, 1. There you go. Let's try to do it a little bit more close. Actually, I'm gonna do this off of a block string. Ready? So now you know what to do. This is a little bit harder. Remember, it isn't true, so you can get it, but it's tough. There you go. I think I even got the hit sound there for a moment. Velvet's block strings into her specials are not true. So, and all her specials are projectiles, except for this one, which you don't want to put on somebody's block because it's really unsafe. So, what this illustrates is a tool that counters things that are projectiles, and that's really it. It counters them, and you can flight cancel, or you can, what is it? You can air dash cancel out of it too, right? Air dash and flight cancel out of it. Out of bash.
I don't know about air dash.
No, just flight, but you can't flight cancel out of it. Yeah. Yes. Oops. Oopsie on the air dash. All right. Let's back out real quick.
Okay.
Because I did say I would be talking to some other people. You said you didn't have any questions. Do you have anything you just want to say on the topic in general, or about the game, or just, you know, I don't know, your how you been? How's your TFH experience been?
I've been doing a lot of focus training on it in the last couple weeks, and I think that's coming along pretty well.
Yeah, I think there was a period of time, maybe in early December. I don't know if I was seeing you as much, but now I've been seeing you a lot lately. So
Yeah, I was goofing around a lot in December and just otherwise.
let's see. We have ByCaf is sitting around in chat, which will be helpful for if I want to start talking about Oleander. Let's see. What do I want to do? I want to do... Let me see. All right, Hacks, I'm going to go ahead and pop you out. Thanks so much for helping me out.
Yeah, sounds.
Boop. All right, let me go ahead and pull in... Is ByCaf in chat at all? Ablaze is here in chat still. Let me have a Blaze fight. A Blaze fight hacked. Let's see if we can do that. And then I think I'll have Silent Beat fight someone. If anybody else wants to be part of, they want to start fighting after we've talked a little about, like, you're not going to be able to instantly internalize all the things that we talked about, because one, it was a lot of talking and not a lot of doing. Because the only person that was in chat with me was Hacked at the time, and he knows some of these things. Oh man. And here's the ultimate discussion of zoning, since it's two characters, it's the same character, it's just Velvet. Sure. Yeah, we'll get you in. So Silent Beat wants to be in chat. All right, very good. You saw the setup there, using the Shatter C on the tech roll. But yeah, you saw them use the Shatter A into 3D for the continued pressure. Hacked just going for a normal Shatter A. 3D there, great extended lockdown. We didn't talk about too much about the extended lockdown potential of 3D. Honestly, it was just getting to a point where I was starting to have, like, just felt like I was talking too much. Really good extended aggressive sequence with the Shatter A and 5D. Used a lot of magic, but he still got some to spare. Right, gets the Shatter C. Velvet actually, I think, has a pretty hard time when she's in disadvantage against Velvet zoning full screen, because her only way in is via the ground. So she either has to perfectly counter zone, like with like a 5D, or advance very carefully. She has to like duck and dodge around all of the opponent Velvet's stuff. Counter hit 2C, goes into super, and he can get more off this. He does. He goes for the 5C, but goes for too many eruptions, I'd say, for the combo. Could have definitely put them into the wall for a JC. Great use of Shatter C. I think he was specifically trying to deal with DP there. Shatter C is very active and is a really great counter to Velvet's DP. Honestly, I think Velvet, one thing is that she shines at in the Ditto, is dealing with Velvet DP. She has tons of ways to deal with an opponent's DP. All right, so let's see. Silent Beat wanted to be in chat. I mean, go ahead. Are they in there? Silent, if you want to go ahead and pop into the FF voice channel, and I will pull you in.
I came in a bit late, so I'm not sure if you covered the topic that I was thinking about.
What topic was that?
I don't know, like, I came in and you guys are talking like very, like, basically stuff that goes over my head. So let's say you're a new player and just like what is it called, like, are there any good pokes? Like, I remember like Zero, he's teaching me like Ryu. Oh yeah, pokes just Ryu's medium kick, crouching or standing.
Well, I did mention a little bit about Velvet's best poke. Velvet's best poke is the extremely non-committal 5D. If you want to poke, and you might be able to get a conversion into a combo off of it, throw out a 5D when the opponent is mid-range. They often don't have a move that's fast enough to deal with that good poke. And the 5D is so disjointed that there's no threat to you as a Velvet player. As an
5D, it uses resources, so it wouldn't be.
It does, but because the topic is specifically on zoning, 5D is like a zoning poke. It's like it's a disjointed, disconnected poke from Velvet that allows her to really reach out there and touch someone without without risking an advance and whiffing a normal. If she whiffs a 5D, it doesn't mean anything. That's what makes it such a good poke.
Let's say you're a new player and you're not very good at like, because like I came in, you're talking about like a lot of what do you call icicle A's and B's and all that. Let's say new player and you have trouble doing motion. So what? And you definitely, I guess you don't want to use the 5D too much because you're just gonna run out of.
True. Yeah, I did say that. Yeah, you're right. In that case, your best poke as Velvet, and this is a move that you want to use in conjunction. I actually wrote this down, but I didn't get to it. Was how to use your normals in conjunction with your zoning. And your best poke to use in conjunction with your zoning is usually a slide 2B. When you're sliding on the ground and hitting your 2B, your crouching medium, that is usually Velvet's best poke. And the reasons are that you can be mobile with it, and if you put it on the opponent's block, you're not too unsafe. They cannot, if you don't do anything but the 2B, it's very hard for them to punish because it's -3. No move can really punish it, but you can lose your turn. All right, let me pull Beat in here real quick. Hey, what's up, Silent Bleat, as you've renamed yourself recently.
Yo, Five, what's up?
How goes? Since Hacked, Rich is actually asking some good questions that we didn't cover right now. Hacked didn't have he was able to help me a lot during this session, but he didn't have a lot of questions. What questions do you have? I'm glad you want to be in chat.
Oh god. Let's see. Actually, I think I have one or two, but I'm not.
But you forgot the. Well, I'll say some things about you that I've been watching. I've mentioned it a couple times while I've watched you. You tend to have a good idea of how to use eruptions. You tend to use eruptions after they block an icicle, which is good. You tend to only use one icicle unless you have the space to use two, which is good. But you do tend to, if you're going to use two, you tend to jump up and then come down and use that first air icicle. Kind of a little bit of what I was talking about before. You use the time rather than trying to do the TK icicle, which can be harder, but it's not quite as hard as you'd think if you practice it.
I never used that before, actually.
Did you? But you were listening to when we were talking about that, right? How to use a TK icicle. And also for Oleander players out there, Oleander also benefits heavily from being able to do the TK motion. So, all right. Well, let's take a moment to think about it. Even if we get some dead air, what do you think your question was, or what's just kind of formulating in your mind right now?
Which attacks from Velvet can actually cancel into Snowball?
That is a great question. Okay, which attacks from Velvet can cancel into a Snowball? So all of her normals on block can cancel into a Snowball except for 3C. A blocked 3C can't ever cancel into anything ever. And that's why it's so bad. It's so risky to use 3C in your strings if you don't actually, connect first. But what a Snowball does for you in your block strings to cancel into Snowball is it just makes them super safe. It's go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I think it has +1 on block.
Snowball? I think it's more than that. I honestly don't know. It's dependent on distance to the opponent. The further you are away from your opponent, the better, the more plus you will be if they block like a 5D, right? Because the travel as the Snowball is traveling away from you, you are recovering from the Snowball summon, and then once they get hit or once it hits their block, now their block stun activates while your recovery time is almost over. If you're right next to them, your recovery time is still happening while their block stun has begun, and like that's what alters the safety in the plus frames and everything. But like Rich said, sometimes talking about plus frames like that can be a little bit it can be a little bit hard for a newer player to appreciate. So talking to answer your question better, you can cancel it after any of your normals that aren't 3C. You can do it on block or on hit. You can't do it on whiff. But you can also cancel after Shatter A.
Yeah, that's true.
What's up?
I say I do that a lot. Shatter A and then Snowball.
Yeah. But you can't do it after any of the other shatters. None of the other shatters have the ability to snowball cancel. And Shatter, it's not just a snowball cancel. You can cancel into wind too. There are some applications of Shatter A into wind. Not so much on block, but it's pretty good on hit.
That's nice.
Let's see. What matchups do you have trouble with? Let me back away from all the fight sound. What matchups would you say you have the most trouble with when you're playing Velvet?
That's Paprika, in my opinion.
Pap. All right. I think that makes a lot of sense as people are playing Velvet, because Pap, with no resources used other than the fact that she has to hold forward and, like she just has to not be blocking. She can just suddenly be in on you with either a really big overhead attack, or she can be right behind you. And it's hard to predict when that's going to happen. And hold on, Snowball has some fantastic kick confirm. Yes. It's a great poke with simple enough use to appreciate. Yes. I think he's talking serious. Are you talking specifically about 5D before we go back into the PAP discussion? You're talking about 5D's hit confirm potential? Yes. 5D, like a counter hit 5D is fantastic, and it is pretty easy to appreciate at low level, because a counter hit 5D at mid range is an easy, like even mid far is usually it's not too hard to get a slide 2B and convert from there. It's really good against Arizona. 5D is fantastic against Arizona, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
Because 5D tends to catch them trying to whatchamacallit, lasso.
Oh yeah, the lasso.
So talking about Pap, honestly, once you start playing, you start to realize she has a lot of vulnerabilities to Velvet, but a lot of that is a matter of how much zoning can you put on her while she can't do anything, or while she's managing a charge. And then the other thing that becomes a powerful tool for Velvet against Pap is a lot of Pap's pressure and ability to mix you up revolves around some delayed stuff she can do, or she has some gaps, and the gaps are where you want to be trying to churn your DP, your 623 DP. One of the things you'll hear sometimes in fighting games is, churning the butter, or just churning, the word churning. It's when you might be in a wake up or a defensive situation, even if you're blocking, which you may not need to be constantly holding back for. But you might be in that situation where you have a moment to do that quick 623 motion, and you don't actually press the D button, or you do, and you just kind of see is like, do I have a moment? Can I press the button? But I'm going to do the motion. Can I press the button? Like, finding those gaps to press the button, or just do 623D in general and see if it comes out, right? Like I'm sometimes just 623Ding in the middle of pressure because I think I'm getting hit, right? There's no point to even blocking here because the opponent is hitting me. So sometimes I'm just like 623Ding because I think they're going to stop their pressure in the middle of it, and and they're try to reset me while I'm still standing. So that's strong against Pap, to be able to use that 6-2-3D in close. For the zoning, she's really strong against Pap because of 2D. 2D and 3D, not 3D, 2D and 1D in particular are both really good anti-Pap tools, because the Pap is dealing with all these icicles, right, as they're coming in at you. Oh, go ahead.
It's already actually yes.
What? I missed that.
I only say yes after you.
Oh, okay. You're going to say yes. Okay, sorry.
I wanted to ask, like, does Velvet start off with at least one magic in the round start?
She does not. She does not. If she did, that would be kind of bad. Like that would be not good for her to have that tool right off the bat. That's one of the things that makes some round starts disadvantageous. She doesn't win every round start. I think. Go ahead.
I was thinking a lot of taps, they like to start the round with teleport C.
Oh, you absolutely can't just DP, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons why she doesn't get the magic round start. One, nobody else gets that. Two, if she could just DP round start, that'd be ridiculous. That would take out so many options from like a Pap. Hold on, let's look at what Sirius has to say. Paprika's threat from medium range has a lot of startup. In any other case, she likes to jump. Velvet's lower commit pokes like 5D and well-placed Shatter A will matter more. I agree with the 5D poke. Shatter A obviously is good, but because of the tendency for Paps to jump, I think it's really easy to whiff Shatter A as a neutral tool. I've always felt that it's risky to Shatter A like that. Velvet gets to round start magic DP against Bear in the salt mines. It's hilarious. Yeah, except that the 5 was not 5B. The command dash can go straight through that. Every hit of it, because it's fully it's fully armored against projectiles. So is Shatter A good poke? I mean, it's a good stabby. It's not a good poke, I would say.
That's what I meant, like,
Shatter A is a good poke in the sense of if you have covered the other options and they want to try to approach from the ground, then it's 19 frames. But if they, if they can't jump, then they have to block it. And if they run right into it, then it's great because it sets you up either a hard knockdown situation or you can confirm from it. So
who's the most grounded character? Who's the most get up in the air there?
The most grounded character? I mean, it might be Velvet herself. Like Arizona and Pap don't have air specials, and Velvet does. She can stall herself in the air, but they can both super jump.
Yeah, I was gonna say they both can super jump.
They can both super jump. So
Ollie's got double jump.
Yeah, Velvet is probably the most grounded character.
Yeah, Palm's also got the
float and air dash.
Float.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the float is such a good tool for Palms as a anti-zoning. It's like maybe not so much anti-zoning measure, but it's a good measure to bait out some of Velvet's defensive options, DP in particular. The float is one of those things that is an advanced kind of an advanced tech. Not advanced, it's just like using it properly is advanced palm play, in my opinion. That's what transitions a palm player into a better palm player is using that float to bait out certain options.
It's so odd that Sorry, what were you saying?
I said I should remember because I tried to play Palm.
Yeah, you're saying that you're switching to Palm now, right?
Yeah, that's why they got the name changed to Silent Bleat.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say it's so odd that Velvet's the most grounded since the Book of Lore says the reindeer jump so high that people think that they fly and all this?
She can. I mean, there it is a little bit evidenced in how she has that ability to stall herself with magic moves or with icicle summons in the air, so she can kind of float up there for a little bit herself. But it's a very in place stall. You know, it's not a float, more it's a stall.
Yeah, that's true.
I would like actually. Let me see if I can have. I don't think he's here, but I wanted to see if I could get BiCaf in chat and in a training session with Beats, but I don't think he's actually in lobby. He's just here in chat.
He played another game.
Huh?
Let's say Michael plays another game.
Plays another game. Oh, he's playing something else right now?
Playing another game.
Okay. That could be. All right. Let me see. Let's do Silent Beat. Silent Beat, who do you have a good connection to?
Let's see.
My soulmate.
Select T and what's his name?
Well,
Kayak or Suyo?
Well, your options are a little bit limited right now because they're all these people are fighting. So your options right now are like Mixel.
Mixel.
You have a good connection to Mixel? Mixel's your EU, right? Yeah. Why don't you see if they'd be willing to fight? I will spectate.
Oh, nice. Well, spectate too.
Yeah, you might as well.
What's this? Oh, he has a good ping too. Mist, that's the name.
It sounds like they're watching the stream too, since they just said sure out of nowhere.
But the best is with Mixel. Yeah, I can fight against him.
The reason I was talking about BiCaf a moment ago is because I want to have like experienced Oleander talk a little bit about Oleander's version of zoning. I mean, I talked a little bit about her traps and her ability to make use of TK. Go ahead and start up the fight. I'm ready whenever you guys are. But I talked a little bit about how she controls space a little bit differently from Velvet. She controls space in a less delayed fashion. It's either she's already hitting you with that active, she's putting that active fireball at you, like right as soon as she summons it, or she's controlling space right around her with the traps, and then you just kind of have to deal with that, with whatever options you have. Velvet can control space for much longer periods of time with her style of zoning. But the hitboxes are not immediately active, which is the difference. It has to be planned out. All right. So now we have Velvet versus Oleander. This could be a good example of how this works. Nice Eruption A. Confirmed into the 5B, but the 5B, if you cancel it too early, is an easy way to drop combos. 5B is a good way to confirm off of a scrambly situation, but it's also a little bit easy to just cancel it too early. So I don't like using it in standard block strings, even though there are some good applications. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I make many mistakes without noticing.
Don't worry about it.
I was seeing there that like Velvet's what do you call it? Her 5C it doesn't hit when they're blocking, right? I mean when they're crouching.
Yes, it will completely whiff over an opponent if they are crouch blocking.
Yeah, I noticed. Like I was watching a new player recently, and they're spamming that move. So it's like, oh, because it looks like a cool move. Like it looks big, but yeah, it looks like it doesn't hit while they're crouching.
5C is a very difficult move to use because it's a kind of a call out move on if they're going to do something while standing. So you have to call them out, like in Arizona doing a lasso, and Oleander doing a fireball. You really have to call them out.
So would you say a better one would be the 2C, since
2C doesn't have quite the same range, but it does have the ability to give you that kind of long range poke. That 2B may not always be the range you want. So 2C is better in that sense. It also has that really cool hurt box that you can take use of as a kind of anti-air, or for like 2C can actually get right under a grounded fireball, but it's very hard to do that. So right now we're seeing that Mitzel's combo game with Oleander's really strong. He's making a lot out of every hit he gets. So it's hard for Silent Beat right now to establish a strong zoning game.
Yeah, that's true. In close combat, Oleander has upper hand.
What's up? Close combat? Oh yeah, definitely. Let's see.
I think who can maybe become dangerous for Velvet and probably Palm in specific situations when she uses her puppies, right?
What's dangerous for Palm?
I say for Velvet can probably Palm too when she uses her puppies, right?
Velvet is good against Palm, or I'm.
Sorry, what I mean is it can be that Palm can dangerous for Velvet.
Oh, the other way around? Yeah, that is so. It used to be that Palm had a really hard time getting the puppies in the first place against Velvet, which was the thing that she really needed more than anything. But it was just that Velvet could just threaten so many options, and Palm had no real reversal or way to get in through the projectiles unless she was like command dashing, but that's super vulnerable. Or if she had to have puppies to begin with to fight Velvet, and that could have been such a struggle. Now Palm has an improved bark, which allows her to call out Velvet's fake block strings, and if she has a puppy, Palm tends to be able to bark for free against Velvet. If she already has a puppy, she can bark, and even if the bark is blocked, she can make the bark safe. If she barks without a puppy, she might still be able to get through a fake Velvet block string or projectile pressure in general, but it's a lot riskier.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, I don't say something. Sorry.
No. You were correct when you said that Velvet can, like, Palm can be strong with Velvet against Velvet with the dogs. You're correct more now because now the dogs allow for Palm to do things to Velvet that are harder for Velvet to deal with. When she has this projectile immune move that dogs make a lot better, and she doesn't even have to do this move. She can just threaten to do it so that the Velvet will sit there. She sees a puppy and she sees a Palm just sitting there on the ground. That Palm is probably charging a bark, right? So it's like, what do? I don't know if I can maybe poke at her with my normals, but if I go into a block string, she can just, bark me out of the block string. So.
Yeah. Or she can, when she has Mama Dog out, that she use the counter, the 3.
Yeah, if the Mama Dog is out, you really have to pressure her from a distance, because pressuring her up close risks getting you hit by the counter. That is a true statement.
Even when you use projectile, can be the worst.
Yeah, if you're too close, that counter bark from the Mama Dog definitely can hit you. Let me think. If I'm being honest, I'm reaching the limits of how much I want to just talk, like, extensively. So yeah, I've just been talking a lot, but that's why I was kind of hoping I could get like an experienced Ollie in here to talk about Ollie zoning. But it seems like we don't have that on hand right now. I will do a match against Shiro, I think. I might straight up lose.
And Shiro just disconnected.
Oh, you did. Wow. Maybe I can get it back in. Yeah, it's been almost 2 hours. I think I was going to end it after 2 hours. because there has to be a lot more talking during a training session. I was kind of hoping to fight Shiro. Let's see if I can ping him real quick. You know what? Maybe I'll fight Mitzel. And I'll just showcase a little bit of Velvet versus Oleander.
Yeah, I think your connection may be a little better than mine. I don't know why I had all the problems.
Well, the thing is, I just have more experience and matchup knowledge.
I'll talk about the connection, but okay.
Oh, connection? Yeah, definitely. Like part of that is I have a pretty good connection, like just in general.
What's up with your Steam icon? It looks so pixelated, like it's low quality.
Mine? I don't know. Maybe it is.
They're on the game.
Maybe I'll have to adjust it. Whoop.
So I wanted to ask, like when I notice a lot of Velvet players play, like, yeah, they just toss out a whole bunch of icicles and eruption so much. Like, I was trying to do that, like, last time I played Velvet, but, like, I'm not fast enough to do that, so just wanted to ask, like, what is, like, a person who could competently do, Hadouken motions, but not that good in eruptions. Like, what's a good strategy for them?
Let's see. I think there's a second way to use it when you use 6-2-3-6 or something.
Oh, 6-2-6 effectively. Yeah, forward, down, forward. Yeah, you can. Outside of thinking about how to do that motion differently, like you can think of the whole Z thing like as you're doing it. But you can also think of like Silent Beat is saying there. It doesn't have to be 6-2-3. It can be 6-2-6. I should have done that DP earlier.
Especially for me, like whenever sometimes I try to toss out a Shoryuken, it becomes a Hadouken, and also the opposite way around. I try to do Hadouken, it comes out as a Shoryuken.
Yeah,
that happens even to, oh wow, oh, every single one of those TKs failed. That happens even to those of us who have been playing forever.
But even so, when it could be that you want to use Ice Eruption and it's a kind of icicle, that can actually not a bad thing because of that little chip damage that you can do.
Bitzel said earlier, and I didn't notice this. I tried to do some TKs not in this match, but against Silent B. I tried to do some TKs in the match for demonstration purposes, but I am bad at them. Yeah, it's like, I mean, you saw me just a moment ago. I just jumped JC. I still mess them up too. Yeah, I hate it. 3 times I whiffed JC. At that point, I should have just canceled my JC, because you can whiff cancel JC into icicles. I didn't talk too much about that, but that's a really good tool for Velvet as far as zoning. You wanted to talk about pokes, Rich? JC is actually a really good aerial poke for Velvet, because she can control, if she gets the JC out in time. It's a slow move, but if she gets the JC out, she's controlling that space with that active hitbox, and then she can just, if the opponent is nowhere near it, she can cancel into whatever icicle suits the matchup or the situation best. So
yeah, I noticed, like, before, and even early on when I was playing, like, I tend to use that a lot, like
the JC whiff cancel.
Yeah.
Did you
just a JC in general
as Velvet?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's actually a good move to use to control space. It is not the best move when actually jumping in at people, because it's so slow. It's very anti-airable. The only way you can really use JC to jump in at people is if you've forced them to respect you, or if you're crossing them up, like on a deep cross up.
So like you say, like you toss out the icicle or a snowball to make it safe when you do a jump in or something.
Yeah, the idea is that you would want them to be blocking something else when you try to get them to when you try to JC at them. Yeah. That's usually how you want to do it.
Me, I remember back then I used to do it a lot, like for opponents that keep trying to jump in on me. So I just jump up in place with the JC and they get smacked by it.
Yeah, you can just jump in place. I honestly should consider more just neutral jumps. Neutral jumps are one of those things that aren't as immediately apparent to newer players, even to long time players, because you're not really committing to an advance, nor are you giving up space with a backwards jump. I actually like neutral jump on round start a lot against certain. Like, it's really good for a mix of what you're going to do, because you can do that neutral jump JC if maybe, say they're an Oleander, they jump back, but then they jump forward. If they didn't get too high, you can still cover that space so that they can't jump forward and pressure you with their own normals or their own aerials. And if that JC doesn't really do anything, it doesn't hit them, you can cancel relatively safely into the icicle. So it's a good move. We are only a few minutes away from it being 2 hours, and unless there are any specific questions from anybody watching or from anybody here right now, you know what? Before we go, let me bring in this guy who's been sitting over here. Heyo. You. Oh God! Oh, I'm here now. Hey, what's up? So you've been here this whole time, waiting patiently.
I was just playing hack and having a good conversation. Yo, what's up, fam? What's happening?
I totally ripped you away from your conversation. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I was also gonna head off to go stream, but what do you need me for? What do you need me for, fam?
I wanted to ask you, because Sirius isn't here, and you are a great Velvet. You've been providing a lot of tips in chat, and I wanted to see if you had anything to say with voice. Like, Sirius was in chat, but...
Okay, so what are we explicitly talking about? Because I'll hit you with what I know.
Closing thoughts.
My mild encyclopedia of Blem knowledge.
Closing thoughts on the stream and what I haven't covered, because I really didn't cover everything. Maybe
I feel like you covered a good amount, and whatever we covered, I think we also covered it in a Blemified, and I think you brought those up.
Yep.
But I think the main points that should really, when it comes to talking about Velvet defensively, is just like trying to be aware of how to beat out certain options or certain situations where Velvet gets really stuck.
True. The reason
interface planted into a corner and just says, "What do I do?"
The reason I didn't talk too much about that is because the stream wasn't just about Velvet's options as a character, which is why we didn't talk about her normals at all. It was about zoning entirely. So if they're already in at you, your zoning kind of becomes
neutral.
It's disadvantage or neutral. Like, you don't have zoning anymore. Now you have to fight with your in close tools. Which,
and that's what I would say.
Yeah.
Like, if we're talking about zoners, okay, here's what I'm gonna add to the situation. Okay, if you're playing a zoner,
you're neutral.
Because you're not going. Because in certain character cases, like let's say, let's go to another fighting game. Hilda from Under Night. She is a complete zoner, has no options to defend herself.
Yeah, she does not have a DP like Velvet does.
She does not have anything. Velvet has a DP. It can get clapped.
Every time I read about Hilda, it's like, yeah, she can use 2A. That's it.
She can only push the button.
She can push 2A.
Just sit there and respect that. Okay, I'm bouldering on swearing and I'm trying hard not to. I'm trying really hard.
How's that mic taste?
So is there a lot of swearing on your
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of swearing. I am a sailor. Much like Song, how he tries to look, I'm actually the sailor.
Oh, you're actually the sailor. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Wait,
Do you
wait.
know who you're talking to? To be fair, I was, as far as sailors go in the Navy, I was pretty far removed from it. All my time was spent in a nuclear engine room. So.
Okay, so if I were to give any idea of how much I swear, Travis touchdown.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah.
other than that,
But yeah,
like,
talking the neutral discussion is actually important.
Like you should learn neutral. I would say, hell, play like me for a second and walk in my shoes and wonder, how do I fight close range as a zoner? Because that's something that Velvet can do. She can definitely fight at close range, albeit reluctantly.
I would say if you're fighting at close range, you've kind of already lost the neutral. It depends. If you are on pressure, then you won it. If you are blocking, you lost it. And depending on the character, even if they're just sitting right next to you, it's a scary situation where you almost lost the neutral. They kind of need to be at mid. If they're at mid or mid close, that's about when it's really neutral for Velvet.
Okay. But like, yeah, talking about neutral with a zoner. Talking about neutral with Velvet or the zoners in general is an odd thing because, like, yes, being up close is an inherent disadvantage. But if you can learn how to defend yourself and punch your cord, then you can make your stays.
You can, yeah. You can make an advantage out of disadvantage, yeah.
As a zoner, it's up to you to make advantages out of your disadvantages, but also, you don't always have to force space. You don't always have to say, "Oh, I'm a zoner. I'm gonna backdash on round start." No, sometimes you can say, "You know what? I'm gonna catch this. I'm gonna make this man eat stuff for his mistake and trying to approach me. So therefore, I win. And I can aggress and cancel out his options. Because zoning is not only just playing defensive, but also using your tools to ensure that they cannot boot. Zoners are like the worst. People hate us for a reason.
I do agree with that you were basically starting to get into how do I make, and this was something I mentioned in the announcement, but we didn't really cover. How do I combine my projectile zoning tools with my buttons and stuff like that for an offensive approach? Well, I mean, you know what? Honestly, they probably covered that better in Emblemified, to be honest. So
just aggressive Velvet, and the Blem slowly smiles and just waddles his way up to the front stage.
Yeah, and there's also, we've already hit the 2-hour point. I brought you in because I knew you would bring up some points we didn't go over too much, but yeah.
Especially when it comes, because like I said, I brought up the point that it's like, if you're not explicitly trying to defend yourself, you are trying to slap someone, alright? What you're trying to do is you're trying to slap them, make sure they're on the floor, and they're like, okay, I'm gonna get back up. And you just put your foot on their stomach and say, no, stay down. That is playing a zone. That is like the physical embodiment of playing a zone. And I feel like Song can agree with me on that.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that point. It's like, stay there. You stay there or you stay down.
Stay down.
Yeah. All right. So since you did bring up neutral, I would like to mention that I think our next planned topic is a revisiting of neutral. We brought it up a long time ago in 2018 on like our third or I think it was our third Young Lions stream, and we did that. We did that with Dom back then.
Dom, big brain Dom.
If we do another one, I think we will do a revisiting of neutral, and we will focus on Tien, because I think Tien is kind of.
She is a, and I'll say this pun entirely intended, a hotly contested character.
Nah. What I think she is I think she's someone who's very capable of controlling where the neutral is. I think Oleander is often considered to be the neutral queen, but Tien is the person that can.
I'm gonna break this here. Oleander has to play neutral. Oleander's playing neutral to live. Tien has to play neutral to fucking exist. I have to play neutral so I can open you up and therefore put you in the situation where I can win.
Sometimes, Rich, sometimes I just give up. We try. We try, but yeah, please, Blem, please.
Just okay.
Don't let the discussion fire you up quite so much.
I'm doing it for a meme mostly, and I want to have the energy. But here's the thing: I feel the talk with Tian. I definitely want to do a sort of podcast kind of deal where we have people on the side that say Tianhuo's not that bad, and the other side that say Tianhuo's pretty good. I'm on the side where Tianhuo's not that good.
Can we not cover that today since
she requires the basic necessity to play neutral, and she asks a lot out of new players. Where new players aren't going to think, oh, I have to, when I'm in level 2, to get any of my damage, I just need to air dash cancel literally everything.
We will go over Tien more in the next Young Lions. I really just brought that up because that will be our planned focus. Okay. So
idea 5.
If you see another Blemify on it, expect a long-winded discussion.
Oh yeah, by all means.
Too, oh god.
And I want to hope that I can keep this discussion very orderly because it's gonna terrify the whole high heavens.
There's no reason that it has to be anything but orderly. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and end the stream right here. I want to thank everybody for coming by that did come by. I want to thank Silent Bleed and Jum. Well, actually, I would thank Jum more if I actually watched, but that's my fault and not theirs. I want to thank Zinder and Hacked. I definitely want to thank Hacked. Thanks Blem for coming on and giving us your thoughts. Thank you to Sirius, the one of the ultimate Velvets out there, still trying to catch up to that guy. And that is it. I will see you all next time.
Sleep well, nerds.
Later.